Hello, my name is Ximena Diaz, and I will be talking about water's relevancy to business in a PowerPoint titled Water, a Deep Business Issue. To start off, it is common knowledge that water is a necessity for all living things. It's almost inevitable to not face hardships in supplying it to billions of people on Earth. So today I will be covering the issues and opportunities in either pursuing a water-related career, the risks in regulation and production, and the opportunities in environmental management, and just informing you what the state of waters in cities is like. The process in creating a service of supplying water to people is nothing short of difficult, as said by Will Sarney. Water has emerged as a prominent business and public sector issue driven by various economic and global issues in his article, Why Water is a Business Issue. So the relationship between business and water is full of advantages like creating jobs for proactivity in water supply, but also faces many challenges involving pressure on water resources, the impacts of climate change, and the wide variety of competing users. Here's an infographic detailing the relationships tying business and water issues. For example, business activities are vulnerable as they rely upon water for ensuring the quantity of produce and for guaranteeing the quality of produce. And external forces are putting pressure on water resources as water supply infrastructure is becoming inadequate and outdated. According to Ximena Diaz studies, business activities are considered vulnerable as they rely on water in several relationships. Those relationships are ensuring the quantity of produce, meaning the guarantee these businesses have adequate amounts to meet the demand, and guaranteeing the quality of produce, which basically translates to, is this water even safe? On top of businesses' vulnerability, external forces also put pressure on water resources, of course. As user demands are increasing and diversifying, water supply infrastructure is becoming inadequate and outdated, and climate change is impacting water resources at an all-time high, and water is becoming incredibly scarce. As Ximena says, there's a wide variety of competing users, with 60% of the world's 276 international river basins lacking cooperative management frameworks. Next slide. Oops. This lack of management framework she mentions is needed since the supply of water is scarce and must be regulated amongst companies who are putting the water to good use and have systems set up for prevention and implementation. Water quality and quantity needs are intensifying as well, improving water quality, eliminating overdraft of groundwater, and reducing the risks of political conflict on top of meeting the basic human needs of water is becoming increasingly complicated, as stated on this slide. And I'd also like to touch base on how water risk is not only risking business but also national security. It's obvious one of climate change's biggest impacts have been on water systems, as said by Erica Guy's article, Water Risk Threatens Business and National Security. Changes in climate are making water supply and quality more difficult to obtain, affecting runoff and soil moisture, increasing water temperatures, decreasing snowpack and lack in river ice, threatening fish and aquatic species, and allowing saltwater intrusion and sea level rise. So the scarcity of water is not our only problem. This uncertainty of the quality and quantity of water supplies in cities is problematic for business and can cause political strife. She also provides a report from the Natural Resources Defense Council, where the United States states are ranked on how their governments are planning and preparing for the water-related impacts of a changing climate. And below I added a picture of the steps a city must take in order to prepare for the impacts of a changing climate. And it may seem like there are only issues linked to business and water, but there are in fact some opportunities. Recently, important biodiversity corridors have been established in order to produce more water for downstream communities. In Mondia, commercial plantations have been withdrawn from wetland areas and adjacent buffer zones to delineate the freshwater ecosystems of its South African wetlands. This process has had astounding reputational benefits of responsible environmental management. And on this slide, I provide an infographic on how a city might plan, allocate the funds for, and implement a new water infrastructure in their city to benefit their community. Now I'm going to provide some solutions to common issues I've stated before in this presentation. Below is a quote by Will Sarney, and it's his ultimate goal in providing some common solutions to the issues. Sarney suggests a similar relationship between business and water is business and oil. Many are tempted to brand water as the new oil since it is so scarce, and developing a business strategy that benefits all would make major money, but as he suggests, water is fundamentally different, and these differences are essential in developing long-term water stewardship strategies. This means that water ultimately has cultural, social, economic, and of course environmental dimensions. And then here is a infographic on reliable water infrastructure and the steps a city might take to implement it into their community. And here are my references. And I hope at least one thing is clear: the necessity to create and implement a plan for each individual city water distribution, regulation, and soon conservation is urgent. We now know the probable effects no action in conserving water can lead to, and the different responses to climate change depending on region, the threat climate change has on water, the risk water scarcity has on national security, and of course ways